it. That's what I'm talking about.
So I think we just wait for a couple of seconds to give people the chance to enter the webinar, and I can see the numbers are rising, so people are coming in. I would like to welcome you to our second day of the virtual DT camp, and yeah, it's the opening keynote by Alain Bindels that I'm very intrigued to hear. So. And thank you very much that you got the time for us and that you wanted to share your insights for something that I see very interesting, because I am not sure how many viewers are actually able to have an idea about yeah, innovation in pharma, because it's a different thing. If you do software and stuff, it's easy to change things. But here it's just like you have innovation cycles that are perhaps 10 years or even more. And therefore, that's a very interesting topic. When I asked you to be part in Zurich, you said, okay, we can do that. So thank you very much that you also stick with us for the virtual version. So I would like to introduce Alain Bindels. He is agile coach, design thinking expert, trained in Stanford, and he has extensive experience in innovation management. He spent over 10 years at Hoffmann La Roche, based in Bale. And the interesting thing that I have to add, when you see a lot of people are doing great things internally, so like redesigning the organization and to yeah, let's say develop the organization. But in your case, if people just want to look at your LinkedIn profile, you're involved in so many additional activities. So reaching out to others and trying to build networks in and without of the company, and that's something that you surely have to comment on. So thank you very much, Alain, and I'm looking forward to what you are going to share.
Thank you, Stefan, and big welcome to everybody, of course, online. I want to start with the word. Let's think about solidarity. So what does it mean to you, to your families, to your companies, to your neighbors? The reason why I start with this maybe uncomfortable silence is because when I woke up out of a dramatic COVID-19 infection myself, the only word that was sticking with me was solidarity. And everything that I'm doing when I wake up and when I go out of bed, it's out of solidarity for my family, for, of course, my friends, for the society, for my neighbors, my communities, and also solidarity for innovators at Roche and all the innovators across the world. Because I think we have a responsibility, people that are like-minded like ourselves with this innovation mindset, we have a responsibility to help those innovators. And this is really important because I think that's, if you ask me what is my role, is helping innovators to get out of the shadow into the light and to really help them to move forward with their idea. And now I will more go to the official part of the presentation, but I just wanted to start with this. And I'm switching my audio, 1 second. Okay, can you hear me? I take it as a yes.
Everything is fine. I get you.
Perfect. So of course, Stefan and me, we know each other, and he asked me, can you share a little bit about scaling innovation in a big corporation? And of course, as you expect, it's not easy, especially if you're an entrepreneur and an innovator, as most of us are on this call. So it's always a struggle. It's always a push against the status quo, right? So that is, of course, not a surprise. And for me, I started, of course, with this solidarity. I think this is, of course, important. But another important part of it is building this sustainable ecosystem for innovation, right? So Stefan already mentioned I'm involved in many things. I'm, for example, supporting also the EU versus virus hackathon. So I'm the main contact for Roche, and I made this partnership happen with the European Commission and the European Innovation Council. So doing these partnerships with external partners is really part of my role, right? My role is not only doing amazing workshops and helping people to build capabilities, but it's really about being a partner with external partners like European Commission, like startups, and like many other organizations. So for me, it's always very important to connect with the external world and to really learn from those innovators outside of Roche, because a lot of innovation is actually happening outside of the company. And as a big corporation, to stay up to date, we need to be connected with that external world. So since 6 years already, my journey started in 2014. I took over the leadership of an innovation community, innovation network called Basel Innovation Group. So I was very focused on the headquarters. And then the journey started, right? So we evolved. And in 2016, we actually launched the Innovation Summit concept, or the Partnering for Innovation Summit that you can see on the screen now. And this year is very special. As I said, I went through quite a dramatic infection myself. We had to call emergencies and everything. But through that infection, what kept me going was like, we're going to build the best innovation summit, even if it's virtual, we don't mind. And we are showing solidarity to all those startups and to all those innovators across Roche. And I want to now also invite you as participants to join us. It's an open summit. It will be also with hackathon, inspirational talks, and a virtual marketplace. And I think your mindset and your capabilities are very much welcome in those hackathons, because there will be a mix of Roche colleagues, business challengers, startups, European Commission, and to have this mix of designers, of agile coaches, of design thinking experts, I think it's a great mix, because you need to design solutions from an end user point of view, from a customer point of view. And I think everybody on this call is focusing on the end user and the customer. So if you just scan this QR code, you can register for our summit and you will receive more information in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, no more spamming and invitations, I promise. So what I'm doing is really building this culture of innovation, right? It starts all with culture. If we don't change our culture, we can stop working. Everything that we do is about people. It's about culture. And of course, all the other things that come behind, like processes, etc. But in the end, it starts with culture, with people. So my aim has always been, since 6 years, to influence the Roche culture. And it started really with 20 people trained on design thinking in 2014, doing some crazy design thinking workshops. Nobody was speaking back then about agility and about all these buzzwords. We were just doing it. We were working with customers, with patients, with people, that were not used to that as well. So it was very interesting times. Nowadays, 2020, is of course very different. The culture has already shifted. Now everybody across Roche knows what customer centricity is. They know what agility is. They know what design thinking is, what Scrum is, what lean startup canvas is, right? So more and more people are being onboarded in this terminology. And of course, some of them are experts, like ourselves. They're like trainers, facilitators. They run workshops, they're coaches. And others are, let's say, champions. They like it, but they cannot run the workshops themselves, but they are inspired because of it. So they work with other people, facilitators in the organization. Why are we all doing all of this, right? We're changing our culture. I think this is a given. Healthcare is changing. Look at what's today happening. COVID-19. The whole world, including hospitals, including governments, schools, universities, including all of ourselves that are online today, we are all connected virtually. And imagine even very conservative organizations that never had, a laptop even, or even an iPhone given by the company, they have to switch to new technologies. So the digital transformation is happening right now. So right now is the moment to change. And I think there's a lot of course, drama and tragedy happening in this crisis. But that said, there's also opportunities for society. There's opportunities for patients. there's opportunities for us on here on the call to influence, to make the society a better place, and to also show solidarity to all these stakeholders that I mentioned before. So I think it's a great opportunity for digital transformation, and it's a great opportunity for us as design thinking experts, as innovation experts, facilitators, coaches, to act now, to really see in which community can we play a role. Can we help a community locally where you live? Can you help a hospital? Can you help maybe people that are suffering, that need support, people that are losing their jobs? So where can we help with our design skills to really design new solutions? So of course, I don't have to speak to this audience about how important mindset is. But in Roche, of course, I always speak, we cannot have new results, new innovations, digital innovations, be it patient-facing apps, healthcare-facing apps, if you don't have the right mindset. If you start with a conservative mindset or a mindset from 10 years ago, you will not get there. All the startups, all the new technologies, it goes very fast. And if we want to work in that way, right, like a startup, working in an agile way, fast, working with digital technologies, you need to work differently. New methods like design thinking, Scrum, but also the new mindset. So as I'm working in human resources, you might ask yourself, okay, interesting, why human resources? We are actually working on programs, leadership programs globally, and we call it the Leadership Circle Profile. So LCP is a program that we have rolled out 2.5 years ago for all the senior leaders at Roche to reset the leadership mindset. It's almost reprogramming our leaders at Roche. This has started more than 2 years ago with the board of directors, and -1, -2, -3, and it was cascading down from the top management down to the operational level. Now, 2 years later, we are at the operational level, and I'm really also coaching leaders, coaching organizations and departments in how they can build this mindset, and also how they can not only work on mindset, agile being, but also working on doing. So how can I apply design thinking, Scrum, lean startup canvas, right? Value proposition canvas, all these tools, all these tool sets that we are having as designers and as coaches, how can they be used by organizations to build new molecules, to build new apps, to even build new processors, new systems? So in the end, it's about people. It's about building capability. And I think what I really like about this quote, it doesn't make sense, to hire the best professors, the best PhDs, the best medical students, whatever you have. If you tell them how they need to work and tell them what to do, you really need to hire smart people so they can tell us what we need to do. And I think for me, this is very typical. When you enter a large organization, you have all these SOPs and operating procedures, and you have to follow those. But these are very smart people, right? So if you say to a person, don't think anymore, just follow A, B, C, D, people are stopping to think and they are not creative anymore. So we need to slowly move away from prescribing too much and giving more freedom, of course, back and more decision power to employees. So this is what we're trying to do with the agile transformation that we're currently in. It's a huge global transformation, but of course it's very exciting times, challenging times as well. But I would say it's very exciting times for designers, for design thinking experts, and of course, coaches like ourselves. I mentioned already the LCP program, Leadership Circle Profile. We're moving from this reactive mindset to more creative mindset. This is all online, by the way. If you type in Leadership Circle Profile, you can find a lot on it. And it's really about, coaching leaders to understand what are my reactive leadership, tendencies, and how can I focus more towards creative tendencies. Just to mention one or two, think about system thinking. Think about showing empathy to our colleagues. Think about, so this is the creative side, right? And then on the reactive side is more controlling mindset. I'm controlling my people. I'm controlling my KPIs, right? Controlling data. No, it's not about controlling. I'm protecting, right? Protecting, controlling. So the reactive side is always a bit more protecting, controlling, or that part. And then the creative, you have many creative tendencies that we try to coach our leaders on. So of course, no joke, everybody's speaking about it, unlocking potential with agility. I'm sure we're not the only company, right? I mean, there's dozens, hundreds of companies around the world that have now these agility programs, which are often coming from some consultancy firms, which I will not name during this call. But it's a very good initiative because agility is more than just a buzzword. It's really a change of culture, like I mentioned before. It's all these new methods that we already started working with 5, 6 years ago, or even 10 years ago, some of us. And now we are trying to build these capabilities into our organization. So to really create a new culture and unlock new innovations in the organization, be faster, more flexible, do this prototyping and experimenting, right? Listening to our customers, showing empathy. So of course, these buzzwords, you're a very expert audience. I don't have to go into detail, but every day, of course, we hear about these things. And most of us, we know also what it means. But of course, the majority in a large corporation, they don't know necessarily all the details behind those buzzwords. Of course, in Roche, for example, the main methodologies that are very well known are Scrum and design thinking, and then design sprints. So we do design sprints, Scrum, and design thinking. And of course, in the design thinking toolbox, you might find, if you're a bit more expert, personas, customer journey, maybe also some UX experience. But of course, not everybody knows that. So more the coaches, the facilitators, they know this, the agile facilitators, but the others, they might just know Scrum, design thinking, and design sprint, right? So it's really about educating and raising awareness, and of course, training people, getting them exposed. And training is the best way in, doing that, activating them, right? Letting them try it out. So our department, Innovation, Facilitation, and Digitalization, we are really connecting the dots, right? We are supporting organizations as we are part of HR in their transformation journey. So this means if organizations are transforming, if they're restructuring, if they're launching new programs, we are always part of that to really build innovation capabilities from day one. So the best, of course, is to involve them from the start, because then we can rethink together with the leaders and the leadership team. Let's build in entrepreneurship and innovation capabilities from day one. We find ambassadors. So usually what we do, we create a group of ambassadors, we train them, and they become the champions in that department. So they roll out, they cascade it down within all the different parts of the organization. So it's not just me and my colleagues. We are training others, train the trainer, and then they are champions, and they're part of the network, the innovation network or agility network. So again, it's really focusing on the culture and the mindset, but also expanding that network, right, with these ambassadors. And of course, not only inside, but also outside of Roche. So I have always two roles. On one hand, I focus on the internal ecosystem, and on the other hand, I focus on the external ecosystems with partners like startups, partners like Stefan, like the bar camps, for example, the startup pitching that we do, we support and sponsor, for example, the hackathon right now for the COVID-19. So this is really the external side. And of course, the consultancy support and coaching to boost innovation. So I guess I don't have to say that learning and innovation go hand in hand, right? I think everybody of us, we understand that if we want to change our culture, we want to change our behavior, it's all about learning and its exposure. So for me, it's really important. How can we build capability so people are self-sustainable, self-sufficient, right? Because they shouldn't rely on me or on another expert to also always run these workshops for them. It's not sustainable, right? So how to build the capabilities in those organizations, that's really the thinking behind. So this is just one number, again, for Basel Kaiserhaus, for the headquarters site. The headquarters site, and of course this is happening globally, right? So if you look at every affiliate at the big sites like San Francisco, Shanghai, UK, Wellen as well, of course the numbers are not included in this picture. So this is Basel Kaiserhaus. We have in 1 year, only 2019 numbers, 2,800 people that were exposed to innovation methods, agile methods, workshops, new tools, right? New learning. So on one hand, we have the training catalog, the trainings that we organize. And of course, Stefan, of course, is a partner with us as well. And then we have all the programs and the workshops that are really ad hoc requests. These are more design workshops where we really, work together with the leadership team to design like an experience for their organization. Create ambassadors, like I mentioned before. Then we have a follow-up. So it's a whole journey, right? We do maybe a kickoff event. Then there's ambassador meetings. There's like culture coaches. There's agile ambassadors. All of them. So it's really like a journey that we go on. So this is really these specific ad hoc tailored programs. So our team is, of course, very much involved to build this agility network. So we have a global agility network. We just rolled out the minimum viable product at the beginning of this year. So in January of this year, we started, launching it on the global agility page. So we have a global agility page from HR that's for all the organization across affiliates, every region, where you can learn about, of course, your agility journey, find resources, but you can also find facilitators. So we are training facilitators, and we ask them to register here. Then you can, somehow request a facilitator if your business function or a facilitator can also see who's another facilitator. I want to learn from somebody else, in China or in Basel or in Shanghai or San Francisco. So you can really find like-minded people that are close to you. So it's really creating this network, but also making it visible, because we had the challenge that a lot of people are trained, but we don't know where they are. So it's very important for business organizations to have a self-service way to find those facilitators. And you have even a picture, it looks like a Facebook, and it's super useful. We have even like community meetings, we have like some, some network chats as well, like group chats, so people can chat with each other, advise each other, etc. So it's a lot about knowledge sharing. Very important, of course, listening to our customer. And I'm very passionate about this. I think for you guys and for the audience, all of this, but I will go quickly why it's so important for us. So I just want to show one example with the Swiss affiliate, which was quite recent, is the co-creation action that we did with the hemophilia team of Roche, together with hemophilia patients, caregivers, nurses, and also physicians, doctors, specialists. And this workshop was very exciting because for the Roche team, it was really the first time that they were working together with the patient and the physician and the caregivers. And they were really asking them questions like, what is your day-to-day challenges? How can we help you? And in that workshop, a few outcomes were generated. So one of them is learnings around the packaging and around also the rollout of the hemophilia program, how they should actually train nurses, because the nurses are very important in hemophilia to actually administer the drug to the patient, because it's an injection, right? So all of these things were very useful for both the nurse, right, or the patient, and also for the Roche team. And one exciting part that came out of it is a website that's being managed by the hemophilia patient organization, which is called asknow.ch. And it's really great because this website was really created, as a prototype during the workshop, and it really started living, and they started experimenting with it. And now it's really like live since more than a year, 1.5 years, I think already. And it's really amazing because patients can go in, they can ask questions, it's really about them. It's not about Roche, it's not about any drug. It's really about what can I do? How can I, travel? What can I do, when I have difficulties to do sports? Or it's really about the patient. And the nice thing is not also a Roche website, it's a patient organization website. I think, co-creating with the ecosystem will actually give you things that you would never expect, right? Because maybe in the past you would have thought, oh, let's create a Roche website. But actually this was not needed. It was really a website for the patients, by the patients, and with real physicians in the background that answer any medical questions as well. So great example of co-creation. Of course, empathy is very important, because you cannot compare it with secondary research, right? You can only compare it, I would say, with qualitative research, where you really are speaking directly with a customer. So it's a very powerful tool to really understand the needs. And of course, it will also create some kind of a purpose. Because if you understand what are the needs of the customer or the patient or the physician, whoever it is, you are much more motivated as an employee or as a person to design for them, to create a solution. So it's really important, of course, to connect personally with them on a personal level, because then you can really understand the pain points, the challenges, and you're more motivated as an employee to work. So we have really seen positive outcomes when patients, healthcare professionals are involved in co-creation workshop, because it motivates the teams. It motivates them, they're passionate, purpose. So there's more alignment, I would say, with the values of the person and also of the purpose. I'm very excited to also introduce an entrepreneurship program that we're building. So it's very, in progress at the moment. We're going to launch it in June after the summit. So you have the summit, 23rd of June. And at the summit, just afterwards, we're launching the first programs with the startups. So it really goes in parallel, right? Summit and then the entrepreneurship program. Just to give you a sneak preview, we are building, of course, this innovation ecosystem since 5-6 years, as I already mentioned. We're connecting the networks, internal networks, external customers, startups, but we also have the internal services. So we provide innovation services to our colleagues. We have a page called Innovation Ecosystem, where you can also see internal networks, external networks, and all the services together. Innovation Facilitation, our team, so all the coaching and support that we give. Innovation platforms, crowdsourcing platforms, putting your idea in a Kickbox. We also have, you can submit your idea. There's coaching behind. There's multiple of them. Then we have the innovation toolbox, really, toolbox for you as an innovator, but also toolbox for the coaches. We can help with prototyping, experimenting, but also with other things. This is from the IT side as well. And then we have the Innovation Google Plus communities, where it's a network. It's like some kind of social media where all these communities are sharing knowledge, connecting, getting to know each other, etc. And then on top of that, we have innovation labs all across the world. Of course, I'm most close to the Basel Kaiserhaus ones. We have one now in Kaiserhaus, another one in Basel coming soon. But of course, we have other innovation labs, for example, in Warsaw, we have in Madrid, in San Francisco, in China. So there's, of course, global many innovation labs. And just to give you a little bit of a picture, where do all these labs, culture labs, innovation labs, digital labs exist? But this is really a map of how we try to connect these networks together, right? So there's different labs, different initiatives that through that innovation ecosystem are trying to collaborate. So you have the innovation labs, you have, for example, also agile coaches, right? That I mentioned before, this agility network, etc. So it's really connecting all these different regions and countries. And we're launching, of course, this program in June, just after our Innovation Summit on 23rd of June. And it's really to contribute to our 10-year ambition. We also want, of course, to provide a platform for the external ecosystem to connect to us and to really be part as a partner. And of course, this is a big shift, I would say, for Roche. But for us, the team that is creating this, we have been working like this for years, right? So for us, it's just putting it in place, giving it a framework, and really experimenting with this. And this is also very nice and supported, as you can see, by our CEO from Pharma, Bill Anderson. He really says co-creation with Roche is important. This is when he visits Slush, which is a startup event in Scandinavia. And this was great, right? To see that also the senior leaders in the organization are waking up and are seeing how important partnership is with startups. And not only with startups, by the way. In this program, we will also work with students, experts, healthcare professionals. So it's really open to many different experts and designers, of course, designers and coaches. So the benefits, of course, need to be for everybody. And I see we have a lot of questions. I'm not sure if I finish quickly the presentation and we do questions at the end, Stefan, or do we do questions in the middle? What do you prefer?
I said to them that we will do the questions at the end. So I'm still collecting and try to combine them, and perhaps it's fine to have them at the end.
Okay.
Perhaps you can even, I think we can even ask people to stay a little bit longer, and that's fine. So just I think best would be to finish the presentation first. Okay, sounds good. So there, of course, needs to be added value for each partner, right? Whatever we do, it shouldn't be only a benefit for Roche. So for us, it's very important. Startups and employees. The startups need to have a benefit, and the employee. There needs to be an employee development. And of course, if there's a benefit for Roche, it's really nice. But if it's something that was a failure, we actually don't mind. If I go back, it's a safe learning environment, right? So we really want people to experiment, to try out new things, and to get exposure to the external ecosystem as well. So in this place, in a safe learning place, entrepreneurship program, innovation ecosystem program, it's really safe to fail and safe to try out. So it's not only about business benefit. I would say it's a lot about benefit for startups and a lot about employees. And if there's a benefit for business, of course, it would be really nice, but it's not the only thing that matters for us. So this whole partnership program, right, what I was just showing, is really co-created with external people. So we had workshops with many people. I'm already part of many different groups, as you said, Stefan. I'm part of also NGOs, government organizations that stimulate innovation in the region. So they were all part of this, right? So this was made in the Basel Kaiserhaus. Startups were part of it, students, researchers. So the program is really adding value for all of them.
I cannot go into all the details because it's too much, but it was really great to actually hear from those partners and cooperate with them. Just to give you a little bit of a hint how it would work, right? So 23rd of June, we have the Innovation Summit. We also work with the European Innovation Council for this COVID-19 hackathon this weekend. We also will get startups from there and projects. Then we have the kickbox. Also some projects will go in. But at the Innovation Summit, there will be, I don't want to give a wrong number, but there will be up to maybe 100, even above 100 startups, maybe even more, we will see. That will be in the virtual marketplace, will be in pitching sessions, etc. Then we have also collected ideas and challenges from Roche business colleagues, so Roche business challenges, and we are matching the challenge and the ideas with the startups, the external ecosystem. So at the summit, we will have the hackathon, co-creation with the external ecosystem, and after the summit, we will review all those outcomes of the hackathon, and we select the best projects to move forward into this entrepreneurship exploration program. So this means that the majority, I would say, of the projects at the summit, they will have an outcome, right? Either an outcome, they might make a contract with a startup, fine, they don't need us, or they need to further explore and create really a prototype and experiment. So creating the prototype, explore, experiment with real customers. And this is done in 3 months, a 3-month exploration program. Then they go to us. If it's just somebody that says, I'm in a very early phase, I'm not sure, maybe they go back to Kickbox, right? So we want to offer to everybody the opportunity, and the Roche colleagues and the partners, opportunity to see where can we move these Roche challenges? How can we move those hackathons forward? And then the program starts really at the end of June. And hopefully, of course, some of the lucky winners of the startups, they will co-create together with us. And in 3 months, so in September, we will have the first outcome. And then we start the second phase. So in September, we start a new round until the end of the year. So this means we have 2 rounds this year. And of course, it's all virtual, right? So I think the virtual world actually helped us to move even faster because you can do so much more in virtual, right? Even the Innovation Summit, we're now able to extend the invitation to everybody, right? Even outside of Roche, where in the past, we had always space constraints. There was only a limited amount of people, 100, 150 external people that could join. Whereas now we can just invite hundreds of external people. So these are the 4 pillars. I will not go in detail, we don't have the time, but I mentioned the first one, right? The entrepreneurship program, exploration. With really 3 months, we connect the Roche Challenge owner with customers, with startups, students, and we really co-create during this 3 months with coaching as well. So we have coaching along the way. Of course, the other 2 startups on site, now with COVID-19 is a bit complicated, but I would say by the end of this year, maybe beginning next year, the first startups will be coming, of course, on site. So some of the people in here, they come on site, they can work from the Roche campus. And we, of course, organize great things, hackathons, co-working, workshops, etc. And more hackathons, of course. And then we have the startup exchange program. So even Roche colleagues can rotate into a startup. So the startup receives a free resource, a free FT from Roche. They can work with for a certain amount of time. This is upon discussion and decision of the startup and the Roche colleague. And they get an exposure, they learn from each other. And it's a great way to also see if maybe a potential partnership can happen, maybe learn from the Roche business insights or the customer side, etc. So this is always a win-win situation for both. This will be also done virtually, by the way, number 3. And number 4 is the external accelerator. This is really like a huge program with a partner, but probably plug and play, the one that we are having in Munich, but then for pharma as well. And this is only starting in 2021. But this is, of course, more extensive programs, longer term with startups, investments, like big investments. And, whereas the number 1 is more exploration, but number 1 could go to number 4 as well, right? So there's always connection between these programs. So I think I want to stop here. And I want to go to the questions because otherwise I can speak for hours about this topic. I'm so passionate about it. So let's maybe stop and let's see what the questions are, Stefan.
Thank you very much, Alain. So I was really intrigued. You presented even more that than I was hoping for, because I really got the feeling this is not about methodology, design thinking, but to me it's about really making a change, and you can actually find out that you use those approaches for designing something meaningful, and that's something that really intrigues me. So the first question that was here is that I want to give directly to you. So how did you realize this mindset change? Roche was or is rather a conservative organization. So how did you actually get that done?
Yeah, so it really started the journey 3 years ago, right? From an HR point of view. So the board of directors, Severin Swan and all the different leads of Roche Diagnostics, Roche Pharma, at that level, they took a decision together with HR, with Chris Wilbur, our head of HR, to really say, we want to change our culture at Roche, right? So they took at the board level, we're going to change our culture, but how do we do it? So they took a decision, this is 3 years ago. Let's introduce a program for our leaders, senior leaders in the organization, to re-coach them, retrain them, reset them, reprogram them, can almost say, with the leadership circle profile. So it started top down. CEO, board level saying, we're going to go ourselves to the program. So they went first, right? The whole board went through the training. Then they went, coaching program, right? It's like multiple sessions, one-to-one coaching, learning about your own creative skills, your own reactive skills, etc. And then they cascaded down. CEO -1, -2, -3, and bum, bum, bum. And now we're like 3 years later. Now, of course, the majority of line managers has gone through it. And now we're in a different phase. Now we're in a phase of making the change of leadership sustainable, right? So it's now the leaders, they have the mindset. And now we're working on building capabilities, not only with the leaders, but really with the organizations, with departments. So we use certain methods, certain organizational development tools that are coming from LCP, Leadership Circle Profile, but we of course attach it, so the being agile to doing agile, right? So we do the being stuff, all the LCP and mindset, and then we do the doing. So it's really a top-down approach and a bottom-up. So we of course, work together with the different functions, organization development, innovation, agile doing, agile being, to really create this connection. So now we're in a really making it sustainable phase, right? In the past, it was about getting up to speed with mindset. It's all new and it's so exciting. Now it's really about making it sustainable, making it stick to the organization, building capabilities, facilitators, people that are able to run Scrum, design thinking, all these workshops and all these methods of the organization. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, so one or two questions were about how do you actually get buy-in and support? So this top-down or bottom-up approach. So what can you recommend here? These are let's say two questions that were there. So how do you get employees to be part of that? Where do they see the value? On the other hand, top management, how can others convince their managers perhaps to buy in there?
Great question. Of course, it's a journey, right? This journey for me started in 2014 when I took the leadership of the Innovation Network, which was then relatively small, around 20 people. We started growing year on year, and we really extended, right? Every year we were training people, doing workshops. So year on year, we went from 20 to 50 to 100 to 200. So the network, the community was growing, really bottom up, right? Bottom up community, 2014. Along the way, we actually did the Innovation Summit. So the Partnering for Innovation Summit was a way to reach way more people. We could reach hundreds, thousands of people because of the summit. So not being anymore this small core team and the network of maybe 100, 200, 300, 400 people, but really going beyond, even people that have never heard about innovation and agility or design thinking, right? So we went beyond. So that was 2016, really making a huge event. Roche Pharma, Roche Diagnostics, very challenging, by the way, very challenging. I can go in detail, but I think it's not the right place and time now, but very challenging. So we invited Roche Pharma, Roche Diagnostics, affiliates, just external speakers. There were patients on the stage, the first time, patients, together with Roche, and they were discussing and they were even complaining, some of the patients, very tough, like, hey, we need to change and be different. And I think all of that innovation mindset year on year, right? 2016, 17, 18, 19, now in 20, the fifth year of the Partnering for Innovation Summit. It's such a known brand, right, across the organization. We had our board of directors, the chairman of the board, Christoph Franz, opening the summit 2 years ago. The board, the head of HR, Chris Wilbur, was also opening the summit. This year, hopefully a big name, cannot say it yet. Somebody from the Roche family. Let's see. We're gonna see if it's gonna go through. But it's not about these big names. I mean, it's about building inspiration. You have to inspire every day. It's social media, internal social media, right? Not external, internal social media. Every week you have to take care. Sending messages, inspiring, innovation summits, workshops, training ambassadors, right? These ambassadors, getting them ready, and they will become your champions in their function. So you, as a person, don't have to worry about the champion in their function. You just need to worry that those ambassadors are aware of everything, and they become a new champion. They create their own network. So if you ask me, it's a network of connected networks. But it's always about inspiration. It's always about solidarity. You are helping each other and the people with the same mindset. And it's always about mindset in the end, right? So really, this network, solidarity, and the mindset, I think, are really important.
Okay.
And of course, yeah, in the end, we're pitching now, right? I mean, this whole program that I showed to you, it's the CIO, so the Chief Information Officer of the company is supporting this, the site head of the headquarter. So of course, you need to do also the influencing in the background. But that's now, of course, maybe a bit later in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Can you also comment on measures? So how do you measure success for an innovation summit, for a startup? So can you comment on that?
Yeah, I love this question. Everybody is always asking it. Christoph Franz, our chairman of the board, was the first meeting, a one-to-one we were having with him. He said to me, Alain, Katja, how do you measure innovation? You do a great summit. How do you measure the outcome? Right? First question. So we say, okay, well, first of all, we are bringing the whole company, people from pharma, diagnostics, personalized healthcare, affiliates together, completely different people, different backgrounds. So that's already one outcome, right? Connecting the dots, connecting departments, one outcome. You can even measure during the workshops who's joining which workshop, which talk, where the connections being made. And of course, he said, but how do you measure what happens after? So we have always, last year, for example, we had 100 external people, around 50 startups. This year, we will have the double or the triple even, right? So we always measured from the startups, how many startups had a success story, right? And then we said, okay, we have like 4 or 5, 6, 7 success stories a few months later, right? So you really measure, is there an outcome of the startups? They're starting to collaborate. There's something happening, a pilot, a project, etc. But in the end, how do you measure innovation mindset? If anybody can tell me, how do you measure innovation mindset? Or how do you measure mindset in general? How do you measure inspiration? I think if you can answer that question, then I think we're in business. But at the moment, innovation, of course, you have the KPIs, right? Like how many projects in the funnel they go in, how many go through, how many stop, how many are in prototyping, how many implement. I mean, the usual suspects, right? But if you have an answer, how do you manage innovation mindset and inspiration? I want to speak with you.
Okay. Another question was, how are those innovation platforms, labs, and communities are interlinked? So is there a level of organization? And second one to that do they work on the same disease or type of drug? So is there some level of combination there? So how do we facilitate, or is this serendipity, let's say?
I would say there's a lot of organization behind, right? So I showed this page where it was like the innovation ecosystem page. So we have a landing page, right? A landing page, a website internally, where you can see all the different networks, all the different partners. So we have partners like procurement, IT innovation labs. We have partners in the business, right? So marketing, research groups, supply chain. They have also innovation groups. So you have the overview. And on this website, you find the services. So services, entrepreneurship program. We were organizing coaching, or we're organizing prototyping for you, or I need to know more about agility. I'm looking for a facilitator. So all the services for innovation are there listed. But again, we are just connecting all the different services, and we're managing some of the services. So HR is partner for some of these, but main partners are in the business, in legal, procurement, right? Startup database. We have a whole database with startups. You can even register, on the summit. There's a startup registration form as well. But do we have more? I mean, so there's a landing page which is all connected, and we have a squad that is really delivering, I would say innovation ecosystem squad that is delivering this program with the external partners, but also this landing page to make it easier for people to find information. And you were speaking also, where do the challenges come from, business, etc. We're working from research to late stage development, clinical trials, to marketing, to procurement, to supply chain, right? It's very variety of challenges. So I cannot say just one, it's organized per one. We often try to organize per technology. So just to be very clear, we're not focusing on molecules. So we are not creating drugs. Our innovation ecosystem is focusing really on digital health innovation. That's very important to mention. So some people on the call are, oh, but you're a pharma company making drugs. Yes, but our innovation is focusing on digital health innovation. So everything that is helping the patient, digital insights, apps, can be automation of processes, data analytics. But the molecule side, molecular innovation, is handled by another organization called Roche Pharma Partnering. And on our corporate website, you will see Roche Pharma Partnering. This is for molecule innovation, creating new drugs and new diagnostic machines. So we are digital health innovation, which is a difference. That's important to mention.
Okay, yeah, another one. Where did you get the inspiration to build this innovation ecosystem? So what are perhaps blueprints or other things that influence you?
We never, had a consultancy company helping us. I think some of you probably are thinking, oh, you probably had one of those nice consultants coming to us and saying that you, no. So this started bottom up. This started really with passionate people, design thinking experts. Like I say, I was we're 20 people. We started, working on design thinking, connecting with patients. Then we got to know Basel area Swiss. We got to know patient organizations, and you build your network along the way. So since 2014, we were expanding the network every year. And I think the inspiration for me, right? This is of course my brain that somehow came to this conclusion. We need to do something like this. It has been in many discussions with people. So I was always visiting innovation conferences, startup pitching sessions outside of Roche. I was going every year. I'm still going. Unfortunately, this year, I'm not sure what's going to happen, to the Web Summit in Lisbon, the biggest tech summit in the world. I mean, for me, it's one of the amazing places where you can really see startups in actions. You can find like-minded people, passionate. Slush is another example, right? All these conferences and places where you meet like-minded people, like the Bar Camp today, that is where you get inspiration. And I would say it's a journey of 6 years, but it has never been like, oh, we just copy paste what another company is doing, or I don't know, one of the big consultancy agencies is recommending us. I mean, I personally work really with real designers, real believers, not fake agile people. So I really work with passionate people that are really into this for real, right? So I think that's really important. You as a person, you always know, is it somebody that is pretending to be innovative and agile, or somebody that is really passionate? So you can easily feel that. And I think that's what makes this network and this community really special.
Okay, I think we can take 2 more questions. And one was regarding examples. So you said a lot of things will happen throughout the year and in the years to come. But can you also give, apart from this hemophilia example that you gave, examples where innovation worked for you internally?
Yes, no, of course. I mean, if I'm thinking about one example, also recently was with MS. So for multiple sclerosis, again, closely, right? Because I'm always in contact with people in the region, right? So for me, it's easier to speak with them, meet the patients, meet the organizations. So again, Swiss affiliate, where for MS, they really were working with patients, with healthcare professionals when they were rolling out the Floodlight app. So it's an MS, medical sclerosis app for patients. And the great thing, what was there, they were, somehow testing the app with the patients, and also getting real feedback, like what is not working, what do they not like, which buttons. So very user-centric design. And of course, these are great examples where you already see that people in the organization are starting to implement and apply these methods, right? And there's many of them. I mean, just now during COVID-19, I was becoming aware of a really nice project on adverse event detection. So they really built, like a startup in, 1-2 weeks, like a medical app for adverse event reporting because people couldn't leave their house, they couldn't go to the doctor, to the hospital. So Roche colleagues, they started really prototyping, making MVP, and building an adverse event reporting app for a specific country. And this, for me, are examples where you see the organization is really applying, these skills. And this is very powerful. And I think it's just the beginning. I mean, this is the beginning of a new chapter, I would say. And the support now of senior management that we have today is incredible. We never had so much support, even from corporate communication on the websites, the CIO, Chief Information Officer. This was something we were dreaming about 6 years ago. And now, 6 years later, we actually made it and it became a reality. So don't give up dreaming and really surround yourself with positive people that support you throughout that journey. And make sure that all the resistance and all the no-sayers that are in front of you, don't listen to them. Listen to your intuition and listen to your passion. That would be my last message.
Yeah, thank you very much. So you already answered the last question about resistance. I would say you gave very good insights. So it's very, very inspiring to see how things turned out and what is going to happen. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your insights. I would really like to be able to offer others that weren't able to come or perhaps want to see it at a later stage to allow for a recording. But up to here, thank you so much. And yes. I think it was a great talk. Thank you, Alain.
And I hope to see you all soon on the 23rd of June at the summit. Join us and connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.